Okay, guys, let's continue on with the module. Now we look at the role of transport in logistics, the logistics importance of logistics in all businesses, the function of it, how actually this add value to the whole process. Now we have those numbers. Those numbers bit old, but just to make the point. Now, the function in logistics ranked the second most important after warehousing. And you'll find why this is the case. You would think, well, between transport and the warehousing, well, why warehousing would be ranked number one? When you study the unit, warehousing and distribution, you'll find why. And we do actually lots of research in the warehousing. And I have a PhD student just specifically studying on warehousing. How do we optimize the operation to reduce the cost? So it's an important area. And also, when it comes to transport cost accounts for 41% of total logistic cost. Now, don't ignore this because logistic cost is a big part of all the products. And out of logistics, we got lots of different activities. Transport is one of those. We have warehousing and other activities. So transport almost nearly half of the cost out of total logistic costs. So very high percentage. And if we can reduce transport costs, we reduce our logistics cost. And this saving, cost reduction, will go straight into your profit. Employment, transport represents 45% of direct logistics employment. Now, logistics employment in logistics is very high. In Australia, arguably, we have numbers about 1 million people employed in the logistics industry. 1 million. All right, 1 million. We probably have only 13 or 14, less than 15 million people actually employed. And out of those 15 million, we have 1 million in the logistics. Lots of job opportunities. And transport represents 45% of that employment. Production management, in terms of the number, size, we look at those already, specialization of production, issue of concentration, we look at those before, and also distribution. Distribution, we have concentration versus dissemination. So concentration, we need to have the scale, but also at the same time, we needed to actually provide the level of services required. We also look at transport and the supply chain. We understand the supply chain is a much wider concept than logistics, and these two are different. That's why you have two units, separate units. So how do we look at the transport in the supply chain perspective? So we have two different arrangements. One is the conventional supply chain, so where we have separate sections. We have the raw material and the parts, we have the manufacturing in the middle, and then we have distribution in the end. And in each section, you'll find that we have actually a core activity or a focus. So during the raw material and the parts, we have the storage as the focus, and then the arrangement of the raw material, and then the production process. And then in the middle, we have the manufacturing. They're separate. The main thing here is they're separate activities, right? And in the distribution, once again, we have different layers. Well, we have the national distribution, regional storage, local distribution, retailers. Well, to some extent, with this kind of arrangements still exist when it comes to distribution. But contemporary, arrangement of supply chain looks like this, much simpler. We have the raw material, we still need the raw material. We need the manufacturing, we need the distribution, we have the retail end. But now the focus is on the distribution center. Distribution center. So the distribution centers actually play a very important role, bridging the downstream customers and the upstream. But the important feature of this arrangement is there's no separation of activities. The whole process is seen as one integrated process. And we can also look at the transport activities from a particular supply chain. And this is probably a little bit exaggerated because we have so many different processes here. But in reality, more or less, it's true. So what we do here, we take 2 points to illustrate how actually transport fits into this supply chain process. So one is from the extraction to processing. So this is the raw material, the far upstream end, right? We're talking about upstream and the downstream. And then the downstream of distribution, we look at how this actually works. So from extraction and processing, we look at the extracting side. And when you consider your assignment, well, the starting point actually from the mining side, right? So you think about it, the gate here is your mining side, and possibly, most likely through rail, or possibly through other means, and to the port, maritime, we have the port and road or rail to the other end, to the processing factory. So this is the process from the extraction to the processing. So think about your assignment. You're starting from the mining side through rail, or probably a little bit of road, very large truck, up to probably 100 tons capacity, and then move to rail, and from rail to seaports, and through the maritime. This is a global scale. And then downstream, in between, we still remember we talk about the upstream, downstream, in the middle, internal movement, right? You remember this? In this one of the slides we had just an hour ago. So in between, we got lots of activities. And then we look at the final bit, the distribution. Now, even probably more complicated. Now, the inside, inflow into the gate, and then we have storage, and then we have production planning. So into the gate, into the storage, and then planning, production planning. And we also need to look at, well, what's the storage? Well, how much we need in the storage? Well, this is about inventory control, and this is in your another unit. And then we have the distribution once again. The order, getting, planning, and the other side. Well, it's kind of mirror side, two sides of the coin. And then eventually to the retail. The retail into the gate, ordering, planning, etc. So you see the whole activities, many activities involved, and transport plays a key role to overcome the physical barrier. Well, the first 2 modules we discussed about this. So remember, we have provided 3 definitions. Well, now we look back. Once we have towards the end, we look back. So what are logistics? Logistics is responsible for managing the physical flow of products, including transport, warehousing, and the information flow. So information flow, sometimes we don't even notice it, but it's there and it's important. Supply chain, much wider, integrates product information, cash flow, that's the finance side of it, among organizations from the point of origin to the point of consumption. It involves RT, marketing, sales, financing. So it's much wider concept. So now you should get the point, right? Supply chain on the top, much wider. Logistics is a part of supply chain. Okay? And transport is part of logistics activity. Now we have also the concept of integrated logistics and the transport. Well, integrated logistics, what exactly does that mean? That's the integration of production, packaging, handling, managing inventory, warehousing, and transport. Now, when we look at the logistics or supply chain process, we look at the products. The products start from beginning to the end to the consumers. The whole process. Always keep this in your mind. This is the whole process. Now, when we say integrated, because there are so many different activities and so many different parties involved in this process, and people doing different things in their own ways. When we say integrated, we mean that we actually bring all those different parties and different businesses together. And we look at it as a whole, one process with the purpose to actually provide premium products to consumers, premium service to consumers. That's eventually our ultimate goal, and yet you need to make good money out of it. Right? So you provide your good products, good price, make you competitive, good service, which means it's not just the product itself. You need to provide the product at the right time, right quantity, without damage, and yet you need to control your cost, minimize your cost. And you need to provide lots of other services. We'll not just deliver the product, but also along the whole process, starting from the customer order their products right through to the delivery. You need to make it visible. All the time you say, well, have you actually dispatched my order? You can check. Where it is? Well, yes, it's in Melbourne. When you expect the delivery? Okay, well, that's tomorrow morning. You need to see it all the time. And this is additional service you have to provide. And also characterized by the consolidation of goods in larger and few locations throughout the trade system. We look at the distribution centers. Why we have centers? Why we don't just direct point to point without actually stopping at the distribution center? The point here is we need to scale, we need to reduce the cost, and by consolidating and deconsolidating, we achieve this. Because the other side of the scale is the frequency. So if you want both, that's the only way you do it. You have distribution centers. Cost can be reduced by reduction of stock expense and the lead time. So we talked about this already a few times. The inventory, the stock level, how you minimize or balance between your stock and your service level. Handling costs are reduced by the use of modern equipment and automated facilities. Well, in the maritime side, we have fully automated ports terminals. In warehouse, we have fully automated warehouse operation with very large capacity. You have to handle millions probably in a week. Well, not manually possible. It's all automatic. Use technology, advanced technology, information technology. And this is how we actually achieve integration, right? Not manually. So what are the factors shaping the development of integrated logistics? Well, what's the reason behind it? We always have a driver or drivers to push something. Why we need to have integrated logistics? Well, reasons behind. One thing, service, right? Always service your products. The other side, your profit. How do we achieve both? This is why. Now, starting from the scientific management, because around the history, when we look at the production, customer service, we talk about the cost, the profit side, the service level. Well, back many years ago, probably 100 years ago, we talk about scientific management. What that mean? Well, we try to actually reduce the cost of production so that we can actually make our products competitive. How do you do it? Reduce your cost of production. Now we're to a stage, or we reached a stage where we're no longer able to significantly reduce the production cost because you have fixed pretty much the same cost on your raw materials, and your production cost will be pretty much the same. Most of the business would have the same technologies or the machinery, etc. And then this part, there is always a limit how much you can save, right? But as we actually expand our logistic network, or the distance, the market we expanded to, well, logistic cost becomes more and more, and we understand it's roughly about 17% of the total product cost. So it's the final price in your products. So then it becomes very important for us to actually look at how do we save from the logistics side of it, and that's how we actually started integrated logistics, because this will allow us to actually reduce our cost. So that's the science behind. And then we look at another part I just missed is the marketing side. Now, normally businesses don't want to reduce their cost on marketing. Why?
Because reduction of marketing will impact sales, will impact profit.
Yeah, this is for many businesses, many products. The main cost, the highest cost will probably be the marketing cost, and normally they don't want to. They can't reduce that part of the cost simply because products all look the same, right? And the quality even pretty much the same. But how consumers actually make purchase decisions? Well, when you search things on the website, when you watch even a movie on the web, when you look at certain things, you always look at different advertisement, right? Even you don't want it, they're always there. They even modeling your behavior online, and they pop up ads that most likely you would be interested. And this is also all part of the marketing. So you don't want, as businesses, you don't want to reduce that part of the cost. So where do you save? Well, we're back to the logistics side. You want to save. Data processing technology, covering from ordering, tracking, production scheduling, shipping, invoicing, analysis, and the other part is provide the visibility to customers. Customer satisfaction, well, I mentioned, you get the product to the right customer at the right time in the right quantity with right logistical support. So that's what you needed to do. And as time goes, as consumers, our demand always, or expectation always increase. And this is fairly normal. Profit, as I mentioned, will eventually, for business, even say, yes, you want to provide premium products and very good service, but why? You want to make a profit, right? And how profit is calculated? Your cost, your revenue minus your cost, right? Equal to your profit. So any reduction from your cost will go straight into your bottom line. Integrated logistics and transport, just a diagram to show what that exactly means. So remember, when we started this module, you had a simplified process, a diagram. And once again, this is just another diagram to show you how we actually integrate, or what actually are integrated. So we have, we started from the physical distribution, and then we have operation, procurement, integrated, or just operation and the physical distribution with the percentages. So roughly about 60-70% of activities integrated. And then we move to the procurement, which means you pretty much have 100% of the activity integrated. But we extend this right to the beginning, to the vendor and the customers. So we have the stages. For the first stage, we have our focus on physical distribution. The second stage, we have the internal linkage. So join two or all the three material flow to cover 60% or 100% of the inventory. And stage 3, back to stage 3, that's what we want to achieve. External linkage. We need to cover the entire process. So before we finish, just to give you an example, real example, once again, a bit old, got from 2013, but still it makes a point. Just to show that the global logistics system or global production, starting obviously from the global production and consumption, very, very complicated, and it can be extremely long in terms of physical distance, and a very, very complex process. So we're talking about an iPhone, right? We all know assembled. They're not necessarily manufactured. We would say, well, the more accurate term here is they assembled in China, mainly. Obviously, there are other countries also assembling iPhones, but China assembled probably most of iPhones. But the actual parts are from many different countries. These countries here, just listed here, be more countries. Providing all those parts. With those parts, and they're located all around the world, how do we bring them back to China for assembly? Well, we need a transport, and we need to have extremely good transport system to support this. Right? Well, forget about those values. So you'll find the assembly only is a small amount of value into it, and then once assembled, will be shipped to the United States. Well, obviously, some of those iPhones will be sold locally in the Chinese market, but we're talking about between China and the United States. So the certain number will be transported to the United States and then to the retail stores. So we have those transport point, and transport plays very important role. In this case, we found how do we say, well, yes, it's so important. Because from the ordering to the delivery, how many days, how many hours? Well, this is just an example. From ordering to fulfillment, well, to the delivery point, well, only 12 days, 18 hours, so less than 13 days. Now, I'm not going to explain in detail, but you can look into it, how many hours required for each process. The point here is transport plays extremely important role, and if we go a little bit further, logistics plays extremely important role to support this kind of production and distribution. Without logistics, well, this is not possible. And within logistics, transport plays the most important role. Now, although we have the anti-globalization sentiment in the last couple of years, it started from the last couple of years, right? Yes, globalization has been a trend, but also anti-globalization as well. But still, well, we see a trend towards globalization. And with globalization, we have those, and we mentioned many times. Once again, I don't want to explain again, because we covered those already. And this probably, once again, you can use some of those to further strengthen your assignment. And that's pretty much we have for this module. Any questions? Any questions? Yeah? No questions? And you can finish and submit your assignment on time. Okay, good.